G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of my Toyota Coaster bus conversion. The next task that I want to do is I really want to give it a good clean because it is filthy. It's covered in dirt and I want to just get rid of as much of that as I can so that I can actually see what's left and what rust I've got to deal with underneath because I want to get cracking on clearing up all the rust, painting the frame and putting down the new floor. So today's job is going to be to give it a thorough clean and hopefully get it looking a bit better than it does now. I'll show you what it looks like at the moment. So you can see what I mean about the whole lot just being covered in dirt. I mean, this chassis is supposed to be black and it's just covered in this thick layer of dirt and dust, and a lot of the frame is the same. It's just really dusty, you know, and it's a bit hard to tell in some places what's rust and what's dirt. So I just want to give it a really good clean, hopefully. And I mean, look at those wheel wells. That's just gross. So I want to try and get as much of that off as I can. Well, so much for that plan. It's not the best day to be getting the bus dried off after cleaning it. I mean, we've just had a thunderstorm hit here today and now it's raining. So I was going to drive the bus out into the paddock and get the gurney onto the frame, and then was thinking I could leave it in the sun for the afternoon. That's obviously not going to happen now, so I might see if I can do a little bit more work on the inside. I want to try and clean up the driver's area a little bit as well, because I know that that's pretty manky underneath on the floor there. So I might just do that instead, and I'll have to leave the gurneying for a finer day. This vinyl doesn't look too bad from a distance, but if you get up close to it, you can see all underneath the edges. There's obviously like built up dirt and dust underneath. It's pretty worn in some places. It's got a big tear at the front of the driver's seat. So it's pretty manky, and when I first bought the bus there was a colony of ants living under the floor that I had to get rid of with some ant rid. So the whole lot needs to come up so I can properly see the floor. Hopefully there's not too much rust, but I think at the very least it's going to need a really good clean. So I've just taken off the driver's seat so I can get the rest of this vinyl up and clean under the floor here. Now I've found some interesting things since I started cleaning out this bus. You know, the odd pencil, a busted up ruler, lolly wrappers, some coins. But I think this one takes the cake. So this is the vinyl that I pulled off the floor in the driver's area. It's pretty manky. I mean, it's obviously really dirty. It's got a lot of scuff marks on it. Underneath, like the carpet sort of stuff is just really filthy. So yeah, it's pretty manky. I don't know if I'm going to actually put this back in. I may have a go at cleaning it up. I don't think I'm going to want to put that back in. I may be able to use it as a template to cut some new vinyl to go in that area. I actually have no idea how I'm going to recover that floor yet, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't want to put this back in. This is what it looks like with all the vinyl removed from the front, and I've also taken off the engine cover here because I had to lift that up to get the edges of the vinyl undone. And you can see all the dirt that's just sitting in the floor wells, both the passenger side and on the driver's side. There's quite a bit of dirt sort of caked on the floor in this area, and it's like a combination of dust and grease. And I mean, look at this handbrake. This is what I found when I took the handbrake cover off. I'm amazed this thing even still works. There is so much filth around that. So I'm going to try and give this a really good clean and hopefully get it looking a lot better than it does at the moment. Well, I'm pretty happy with how that scrubbed up actually. It's not perfect, and I might even still come back and give it another bit of a clean before I paint it. But I managed to get most of the dirt off, and it certainly looks a lot cleaner. I'm also pleased to find that there's not really any rust under here. There's a little patch of rust on the floor just under the clutch pedal, but it's only surface rust and won't be a problem to clean up at all. The rest of it looks in really good condition. Even the original sound deadener matting that you can see on the floor is still in really good condition, so I'm not even going to try and lift that up. And even around the handbrake, I managed to get most of the dirt out. That was a bit tricky to get around all the mechanisms there. That's probably as clean as I'm going to get it, but I'm pretty happy with that. So that was a good hour and a half, 2 hours work to get that driver's side done. So now I'm going to try and do the same thing over on the passenger side and get that nice and clean too. So this is what it looks like after I've cleaned most of the frame. The passenger side was quite a bit trickier to clean, mostly because I can't get that fuse box and windscreen washer bottle out of there easily without disconnecting a heap of stuff, which I'm not really prepared to do at the moment, but I cleaned it as best I could. And then I went around and cleaned the rest of the floor frame. I decided to just do it by hand at this stage, mostly because there's a lot of electronics and things under the frame here, which I'm not quite sure what all the bits are, and I didn't really want to be blasting water around willy-nilly until I get a better idea of what's what. And there was so much mud and stuff on the frame, I just thought it'd be easier to scrub it by hand anyway. So it does look a little bit cleaner. It's still pretty dirty, like especially the chassis and the mechanisms underneath are still pretty dirty, but at this stage I'm mostly concerned with the floor frame, and most of that is pretty good. I mean, you can tell the difference looking at the wheel arches. They actually look white now, so that's an improvement. Anyway, so now that I've got rid of most of the dirt, I can actually see the rust in the floor, and there is actually a fair bit, mostly along the edges. So you can see here there's a little bit of rust, a little bit more there. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it's mostly just little surface bits of rust. There's a few patches, but there is quite a lot of it. So, and now that the dirt's gone, you can see where all the rust is. But hopefully it'll just be a matter of grinding some of that off and painting it, and it should be fine. I mean, it's not, there's a bit more here at the back. It might be a bit hard to see with the sun. So you can see in this back corner here under the tail lights, there's obviously been water getting in here because there's a fair bit of rust in this corner. But again, it's not too bad yet, so it should clean up pretty easily, but obviously I'm going to have to go over the back of the bus pretty thoroughly to find the leaks. And it's the same in this corner as well, although not quite as bad on this side. But you can see that there is quite a bit. So the next task is to grind back all these bits of rust, get it all nice and clean, and then paint it with a rust guard primer. So that's the next job. And after that, hopefully, I can lay the new floor.